So the story with Hawaii Pacific University censorship, is that what you want to hear? Okay. So I came here as a transfer student. I got a scholarship called the President's Leadership Scholarship, right? It was for only people that were prestigious or whatever in like the leadership things they did. So I was the president of my student government at my community college. So community college or public school in Oregon, and so it had a very uncensored paper. So student government, we thought we did a lot, we really didn't. I mean, compared to like the administration, they have all the power pretty much. But even in ours, we had a collaborative thing between the president of the college and the student government. So anyways, the newspaper at my old school had an advisor, and the advisor just advised. He stopped the newspaper from attacking people, literally, like libel, like slandering people, and obviously they edited, make sure. But the advisor at that paper didn't stop opinion and certain feelings from being written, which is what happens at HPU, as I learned. So I get here, and I join the student government, right? Naturally, I thought that's what I should do. So I become a junior representative, and I'm asking questions about how to make the school a better place after running for this position and getting elected. And I talk to these journalism students, and I'm like, hey, what's the paper like? Is it good? Are you allowed to write what you want? And they're like, oh, no, we can't write what we want. And I'm like, why? And they're like, because the advisor stops us from writing it. It has to be positive opinion pieces only. So I'm like, that's weird. Maybe this person just had a bad experience. Maybe they wrote something really stupid. So I asked somebody else. Oh, no, we can't. We would lose our scholarship, is what they said. I'm like, wow, this sounds like censorship. So in our role as student government members, we brought in the advisor of the newspaper named Larry Ledoux, a journalism advisor, 20 years in the newspaper. So we bring him in and we ask him, and he's like, yeah, that's the way it is. We can't allow negative pieces to go in. It's the HPU paper, they pay for it, which kind of makes sense. But of course, tons of private schools don't censor their paper. Mm-hmm. So we were like, okay, well, how can we get it so that we don't censor our paper? So he's like, we'll talk to the president and the vice president. It's above my head. I just do what I'm told. We're like, okay, so you're not the guy we're going to fight. Fine. So anyways, me and the student government were like trying to find out stuff. We're trying to make changes. So I called, University of Hawaii, Chaminade, BYU Hawaii, other schools in Hawaii. And I asked them, I said, are you guys censoring your paper? So I talked to the advisors and students, and all of the other schools on the island, public and private, are not censoring their paper. So I was like, perfect. We can make the case that we should just follow every other school. So the student government is like doing what the administration does, and they don't want to do anything about it. And I'm just like, really? So I get really frustrated with the student government. Stop doing it. Do debate instead, right? Because why would I give myself to an organization that obviously cares nothing about making the school a better place? Like I thought we should. Anyways, I move on, so semester goes on, and then fall semester comes around, so it's a full year later. And the new president of student government asks me to come to speak to their student government. So I come in and I'm like, look, and there's the video of this on YouTube. I'm not doing anything anymore. Obviously HP doesn't want to change. It's not my prerogative. You guys can do it if you want. And my speech, like I said on YouTube, it's like 7 minutes long, fires everyone up. They're like, oh my goodness, I can't believe this is happening. And all these student government members are like, let's change this. So I'm like, awesome. Like, we can really change this. You guys are actually fired up about this. You want to do it. You have the power. So they, are you okay? You on time? You look bored.
I'm listening.
Oh, okay. So
this is my listening.
Oh, okay. We get a committee together with Sage Martin, the current president of student government, was on that committee, and we do fact finding. So we call more schools that compare to HPU in like size, and that list was given us by the dean of students. And we find out most schools that we compared ourselves to were not censored either. So we're like, cool, we're making progress. So from my contacts, I had the student editor of University of Hawaii's newspaper, and I emailed him. I said, look, the student government has a committee. They've endorsed principles of like free and uncensorship, like the basic journalistic principles. You don't censor paper. Yeah. You don't libel people. Obviously, content and grammar edited, but not opinion, right? So they endorse these principles. So I talked to the UH student editor, and he writes a piece about what we're doing. But before he did that, there was a kid from Denmark that I met, a student, and he is a journalism major. So I was like, Denmark, that's interesting, because there's a big controversy about censoring the Prophet Muhammad cartoon. It's a whole separate story. But he's like, oh, let me come listen. So he comes and listens to the student government, listens to what I have to say, and I'm on this committee, but I'm not the chairman, that was Sage, and he writes an opinion, or a story, a fact-based story. So journalists, obviously, they want to get both sides of the story, right? So he goes to the dean of communication named Dean Combs, and you can read this article. I think that actually it's not online anymore, which is kind of weird because the Star Advertiser got bought out, but it's not there anymore. So he writes this piece and interviews our students, me for one, because I'm the one obviously with the axe to grind, and then the Dean of Communication. So he publishes this, and the administration is livid that because they said that he misquoted the dean, which he was like, I'm a journalist, like I don't misquote people, and I don't have a dog in the fight, like I don't have an opinion to grind, I'm just trying to report the truth.
Yeah.
So the Denmark student did this, named Philip, and then the Dean of Communication, or the student editor at the UH paper, and then Sage, the chair, had a committee, and he invited a Honolulu Advertiser reporter, which is pretty big deal that an actual reporter comes to our campus to hear about the story. So Sage is going on in this meeting, and I guess beforehand he told us all not to say anything because he was going to run the committee meeting, and I apparently forgot about that. But during this meeting, he was kind of like positive and fluffy, and I thought spinning and not telling the truth. So halfway through, he says something about, we haven't found any censorship, and I go, excuse me, Sage, I from the very beginning talked to journalists, and they all told me that they couldn't write anything negative because they were on scholarship, and they didn't want to lose their scholarships, and/or the advisor wouldn't let them write things. So that made Sage livid, and then we had a discussion in the committee meeting in front of the Honolulu Advertiser reporter about what was really going on, and she was just writing, like, amazed at what was going on. So that goes on. So we have 3 public opinion pieces going on out in the community dissing HPU's administration, questioning the censorship, fighting the administration. So the Dean of Communication calls me like right after these are published on my cell phone 5 times in one day, and she's like, we need to meet with you. And I was like, wow, we must have done something if we got the Dean of Communication calling us. Obviously we got their attention. So we set up a meeting with the leader of the committee, another guy, me, and then the president of student government comes in, which I thought she shouldn't be there, but whatever. And Vice President Kearns, who we've often been talking with, and he's the spokesperson for the president, essentially, says, where they're coming from, and he's all upset that we've, attacked them without fact-finding, which I clearly think we fact-find anyways. So the end of the story is, this was all up to November, like when all these papers were November of '09. And in December, a piece came out in the Kalama Lama, which is the student newspaper, and it said, getting it straight. And they attacked all of us for expressing our opinions, and they defended themselves, and it was written by the advisor, and his name was Larry Ledoux. So the advisor wrote a piece and authored it as the Kalama Lama staff. So he signed it on behalf of the newspaper, which is all of the students, but he was the one that wrote it. And he attacked us, and the Denmark student felt so attacked that he was threatening to sue. So he felt liable, which, he obviously knows liable if he's a journalism major. So, that was essentially it. And, wow, that's loud. And, hey, thank you. Good work. Thanks.
Oh, that is the biggest horse I've seen in forever.
And that's the story of Wipes University Censorship. So, that's been it, yeah.
Megan's on a mission.
It's right there.